Well, a very good evening from Phuket, and tonight is Sunday the 25th of October, which means it's the last night of the Vegetarian Festival. So I've come down to the Samkong area, to a restaurant that I've actually visited a few times and done a previous video on. Now, I'm not going to be doing a piece on this actual restaurant. What we've done is we've come down here to have some food before we go into Phuket Town, because the last night of the Vegetarian Festival sees an almighty street parade. It's quite famous, the last night of the festival, because all the temples come together for this massive street parade, street party. Now, before we jump into tonight's video, there's a couple of things that I want to cover. First off, I want to apologise because I mentioned on the Ban Niao video that I would be covering the Dewi Tui temple, but unfortunately I got the dates mixed up of the parade. I thought it was happening on the Saturday, yesterday, but it actually took place on the Friday morning. Now, the Friday morning, unfortunately, I'd already got something on and I wasn't free to do the filming, so I wasn't able to film the Dewi Tui day parade, only the Ban Niao temple parade, as you saw. So apologies for that. And the second thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the background of the Vegetarian Festival, because I haven't spoken about it this year, and a few people have commented on the other videos that they don't really understand why the spirit mediums put needles and swords, etc., through their skin. But I want to go over briefly what the Vegetarian Festival is about, because of course a lot of people mistakenly think that the Vegetarian Festival is all about vegetarian food, and that's, whilst it is partly to do with the vegetarian food, and of course we've come down to a vegetarian restaurant and we're going to eat vegetarian food again this evening, but that's only one side of the festival. And I want to talk a little bit about the actual story behind the festival, which will make it a little bit easier to understand for people that don't understand about the spirit mediums and the devotees and the 9 gods, which is what the festival actually is. Before I go any further, the food's just arrived, so I want to show you this food quickly, because this is an excellent restaurant to visit if you're looking for vegetarian food. Now, I have covered this restaurant before and I will link it at the top of the screen, but we're not here covering the restaurant particularly tonight. We've just come to dine because I know it's a very good food here, but I just want to show you quickly the food. So we've got some fried mushrooms, fried papaya salad, spinach with baked cheese and mushrooms in a black pepper sauce. And this is a great little restaurant. If you are in this area, then I would recommend you come and take a look at this restaurant, because the food here is absolutely superb. Now, going back to the Vegetarian Festival and the story. The brief story goes that a long time ago in Phuket's history, when the Chinese migrant workers used to come to Phuket to work within the tin mines, a group of these migrant workers fell ill with malaria. Now, in those days there wasn't a cure or treatment for malaria. In fact, it was a very deadly disease, and most people that contracted it in those days died from the disease. Now, these migrant workers prayed to the gods and made a deal with the gods that they would only eat fruit and vegetables, and after 10 days of only eating fruit and vegetables, they all managed to recover from malaria, and they put it down to the gods that had spared their lives. Hence the festival was born. Now, over the years, of course, the festival is developed into what it is today, starting off with the Gotang pole, or the lantern pole, which is traditionally raised at the start of the festival to invite the gods from the heavens down onto the earth. The spirit mediums are a way that the gods can possess the bodies and walk among us mortals. Then you have the devotees, whose job it is to take care of the spirit mediums or spirits. People have asked about the piercings and why the spirit mediums have these piercings. Well, they believe that for each piercing that they can have on their body, it represents a person's sin. So the more piercings, the more sins they can absolve. And it's a way of people getting forgiveness from the gods and giving them health and prosperity in the coming year. So this is why they do these piercings, and now we see more and more piercings coming because they're trying to take more and more sins away from the people and absolve those sins. Well, I hope that has given you a brief idea as to what the Vegetarian Festival is all about. Now, of course, there are a lot more details than what I've briefly mentioned in this video, and I don't want to go into the whole history of it because we're going to be here all night, and quite simply I don't have all night. I've got to get to Phuket Town. Now, before we move to Phuket Town, I'm just going to have a quick walk along the street that's behind me at the moment, which is the main street in Samkong, because just over the back there is a lovely Chinese temple, which I'm just going to film from the outside. I'm not going to get too involved because we don't have too much time. It's now 20 to 9. The parade, they say it starts around 9 o'clock, but it never normally does. It's always running a little bit late. But I want to try and get down there for around 9 o'clock to try and find a good spot. Where we were at the clock tower, that is a particularly good spot to view the street parade from, and that's why I went there again. But I'm going to move slightly along the street. A bit further up, there's another spot that I've been looking at that I saw last year, so I might try that this evening. But for now, let's go and have a look at the main street behind me in Samkong. As you can see, it's quite busy this evening, of course, with the festival going on. Lovely, lovely food here. Very, very nice. Copen cab, thank you. Now, this is basically the main road that runs through Samkong, and as you can see, there's quite a few market stalls, or there has been. Some of them are started to pack away now because obviously tonight is the last night of the festival. It actually finishes tomorrow morning in the early hours when the Gotang pole will be lowered, and that will mark the end of the festival. As you can see, this is a very, very pretty temple here, and I can just feel it starting to rain. I'm really hoping that it doesn't rain this evening. But if you are coming to the island once the borders reopen and things go back more normal, if you can be here for the last night of the Vegetarian Festival, then that is a spectacle worth seeing, because I don't know to anywhere else in the world that you will see what we are about to see. Okay, so this is Samkong. It's not that large, but it's well worth paying a visit. That restaurant, the Chu Hung restaurant, the vegetarian restaurant, very much worth visiting. Delicious food. As I say, I have covered the restaurant before, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. If you are interested in vegetarian food, then I strongly recommend you trying that restaurant out during your visit to Phuket. Okay, we are now going to make our way over to Phuket Town. Fingers crossed that the rain is going to hold off. I can feel it spitting a little bit, but I really hope that it doesn't start to rain. So I will catch you once I get over to Phuket Town. Well, we've just arrived down into Phuket Town, and we're not far away from the clock tower that you can see just at the bottom there. Lots of fireworks going off at the moment. We did struggle to park a little bit because we're not late because the procession hasn't started yet, but of course other people have got down here before us, so parking's quite an issue, as you can see. Bikes and cars everywhere, so it does pay to get down here early if you can, but of course we wanted to have something to eat, and that's why we're a little bit later. Now what I'm going to do is make my way to the spot that I've seen on previous occasions. I don't know whether it's going to be any good. As you can probably see, there's a large crowd gathered here already. It's just after 9 o'clock in the evening. Now, of course, you do have to be a little bit careful if you're coming to this festival, especially on the closing evening, because as you can see, people letting fireworks off at random, firecrackers going everywhere, lots and lots of tables about. Now, it seems crazy, but they don't actually close off the roads. Well, as you can see, a little bit of chaos here. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to do a lot of commentary due to the noise of the fireworks and the firecrackers. So once the parade starts, it's going to be no commentary. I will let the pictures do the talking. Okay, I think the procession, the parade is just making its way down the street now. Just starting to come down the street, as you can see. Just down there, the flashing lights. I believe that is the beginning of the procession. I've actually moved a little bit away from the island because there's a lot of people congregating there. There's an awful lot of fireworks going off right in front of us, and it's getting a little bit dangerous, to be honest with you. Here we go. Just look at this street here. Oh my God. Wow. Now I've asked Nat whether that was the end of the parade, and she said that's only the first temple of Bang Niao. All the temples have got to come through. That was insane, absolutely insane. Now the guys this year, I've noticed, because we've moved position, we're standing in a slightly different position. The guys down here have got great big long poles with the firecrackers on the end of the poles. Absolutely crazy. They put the firecrackers on the end of the pole and then dangle it over the top. Oh my God.